supposed to record. Is it recording?
Yep, you're
All
good.
right, great. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. So today, I mean, I thought we were gonna try to skip the last one of the starting point labs, but apparently we have to finish all through the free ones on tier 0 if we want to get started on tier 1. So we'll be going over Redeemer, and then we'll be starting on tier 1, so then we could start actually doing some offensive related stuff, because tier 0 is mostly getting used to the client side tools for some of these services. So with that being said, let's see, I'm going to move this over here. Okay. And I will be, no, let me close this. All right, I'll be sharing my screen. Let me just make sure that everything is good. Okay. Can you guys see this perfectly?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, yeah, so we're gonna be going over Redeemer, so then we could actually get started with the more fun stuff. So I'll just be spawning the machine right now, and hopefully you guys have your Kali, or oops, hope you guys have your Kali machines open and all that, and are connected to the VPN. Does anyone need any help with that? Just double checking, like if anybody missed out last time, or that you guys don't remember how to connect to the VPN. If you guys need any help with that, just let me know. If not, we'll just be getting started right now. Just open up chat over here. Okay, so David, do you have like a Kali machine available? And oh, you missed the last meet. Oh, for this makes it a bit okay. So you have your Kali machine with you. Can you log into Hack the Box? Okay, and if you go into the little sidebar over here where it says labs, can you go down to wait. Yeah, can you go down to starting point? And over here, you're gonna need a VPN profile. So if you just click on the side over here and then click starting point, you could just download a VPN profile over here. Tell me when you have your VPN profile downloaded. And for everyone else who's already have, like, you guys already have your Redeemer machine on, just feel free to like get started on the tasks and trying to finish this thing up. Let's see. David, do you have the VPN profile downloaded?
It's downloading right now.
Oh, okay, got you. Are you downloading it on your host machine or on your Kali machine?
Oh, dude, I didn't, I misspoke there in the wrong order. I don't have Kali. Remember, because like it's me, man. It's Davey. You know, like
yeah.
we've discussed this at length.
All right.
Yeah, I can actually. I can try and set one up real quick. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
I think it'll take a bit, but okay, wait, I need.
I'll catch up. I'll see if something works. So
yeah. Sorry about that. If you guys want to stay after the meeting for anything, if you have questions, just feel free to do that. But anyways, we'll be getting started on Redeemer right now. So did anyone answer the first task yet? Do you guys know which TCP port is open in the machine? And you guys know how to figure that out, right? Okay. Yep. It's 6379. And I guess I kind of spoiled it already, but do you guys manage to figure out which service is running on the machine? Right, Redis. Would you like to share the command you use to figure that information out in case anybody needs that? We will answer that question in task number 3, Bryce. So, okay. Yeah, do you want to share the specific nmap command that you use though? Just, a little quick review about using nmap and all that stuff. Right. So I'll just show it here so everyone can see. I'll zoom in a bit too. Oh, okay. Hopefully that's big enough for you guys. A target IP. So the IP of my machine is going to be this one. Right. And I'm going to, just to make my life a little easier, I'm going to specify a higher min rate. So this thing doesn't take 15 years. So hopefully this gets done soon. It says about 30 seconds remaining, but yeah. And just to go over the syntax of this command, tac ptac, that means scan all the ports. SB does a service version check on the ports that finds are open. This is the target IP, and this min rate value kind of just helps speed up the process. Hopefully I'm not going to crash the machine though, because if you scan too fast, you might overload the machine and it might die. And this goes with any sort of scanning tool. There's more than just Nmap. So the min rate, I don't know what the specific value means. All I know is that 1000 and above means it gets kind of fast. Bryce actually introduced that to me, so he might know more about that. But I've always just put min rate 5000 and haven't thought too much about it. So that's all I know is it's faster. It might miss some things if you specify a high min rate like 5000. So sometimes it's good practice to rerun the scan multiple times. And as you can see from that scan, we can see there's only one port open on TCP and it's running Redis and the version is 5.07. And does anybody know what type of database Redis is? And it actually provides us some options here. Yes, in memory. So the way as I guess like if you think of a standard database, it has, I mean, it's a database, so it has a lot of like data on disk sort of. But with Redis, from what I recall it, the way it's being run, it sort of caches things in memory. So so then it becomes more accessible to applications that use it. So Redis doesn't really work alone. Other services usually depend on it and utilize it to speed up their functions. I don't actually have too much experience with it, but that's what I know, what I think is going on with Redis. Let me see if I actually have Redis on my machine. Yeah, actually, yeah. So I also do have a Redis instance running on my machine. So that's just a little example. Some things may use Redis as like just to help supplement their efficiency, I guess. Anyways, so that's not too important here. Does anyone know the command line utility we can use to actually interact with this Redis server? Let me just pull up the results back here. Yeah, Redis CLI. So Redis CLI, it's sort of like how we had FTP and SMB client, where it's just a client-side tool that's used for this thing. And oh, I guess I already have. I will pretend. Okay, so when we actually try to use this thing, right? If I just like specify this, it's gonna automatically connect to the Redis instance running on my local host. And if you don't have one, it's probably gonna error out, right? So does anyone know how we can actually specify that we want to connect to this target on whatever the IP of your box is? Does anyone know what flag or maybe positional argument we can use? Yeah, I kind of accidentally showed it because I did this box like a few weeks. But yeah, it's TAC H. And I know this is a little weird because TAC H is usually a help flag, which is just like a little weird thing is sometimes things will each program takes arguments and flags differently. So for many, TAC H specifies, get some help information. And for this thing, it specifies host. So it's just kind of weird like that. There's various ways to get help though. Sometimes you do a double TAC help, which works here. And if we actually do that, we could kind of see there's a lot of details on how to use it. And if I really didn't know how else to use it, I could just search up like Redis CLI syntax or something. And hopefully I get some results back here. And there's a little documentation, but we're not gonna go over that. So right, you just do TAC H anyways to connect to the host. So you do a little TAC H over here. And if I do that, I can see that I'm now connected to the IP of the box on that port, which is where Redis is running. That's just how this Redis client looks like. Not all client tools look like this. Let's see, what else do we need to do? Okay, so does anyone know how to get information and statistics about the Redis server? I don't actually know the commands with Redis CLI because I hardly ever use this thing. I wonder if I type something like help. Oh, that's not too helpful. Yeah, does anyone have an idea of how we can figure out what command we can use? Right, info. Would you like to explain how you found out that that command shows that stuff? Andrew? Is it just something you found on Google or did you just guess? Sometimes I just guess and commands happen to work, so it's pretty
It was
nice.
actually through the walkthrough.
Oh, okay, got you. Okay. But yeah, there's a bunch of information, and like I said, I really don't know what 99% of this means. But we can kind of see what I was talking about earlier, how it's a in-memory database. It's doing something with memory. I don't think this is something we'll be interacting with often, so we'll just try to speed run through it. And we already got the version from our Nmap scan from up above, so we could kind of skip over this question. Just remember that from our Nmap scan, we saw that's running 5.07 or 5.0.7. So just we could put that here and go about our day. And does anyone know how to use select the database? Let's see, if I type help. Oh, if we press tab, it auto gives us some things we can look into. So select, yes. So if we type in select, well, we don't have a database name, so it's not gonna. Yeah, that's the documentation page I was referring to earlier. Although I don't think we really want to be reading through all this, but it's good practice if you have just to Google and try to read documentation for any sort of tool that you're using. There's a lot of documentation. It might be on GitHub, it might be on their own website. But okay, so yeah, it's should be select, right? And now it's going to be asking us how many keys are present. So we have to figure out a command that gives us keys on this thing. Let's see. How many keys are present? Would anyone want to share or figure that part out? I'll probably just search up keys. So keys, just do this. CN keys. So n being the number of keys here. Extract keys. So if we maybe run something like get keys, maybe. Yeah. Oh, that was unsuccessful. Let's see. Command get keys. We first have to figure out how many keys are present. Wait. Oh, database with index 0. So we first have to connect to database 0. So right, just do select 0. Because as Bryce said, we can connect to a database with select, and they told us to connect to 0. So now we can try to figure out where our keys are. Keys. It shows up when you do the info. Oh, okay. That's actually good to know. So yeah, if we type in info, as Andrew said on the bottom, and there's a key space for it. Yeah, it says there's 4 keys. Okay. And how can we actually get all the commands? Well, if I type in, well, based on what the little documentation sheet that Bryce sent us earlier, we could just type in keys and then like, I guess, some index number for the keys and then try to figure it out. So I'm gonna try something like maybe keys 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. I guess I'm not doing it correctly. Oh man. Let's see. What command is used to get all the keys? I'm gonna take a guess here and go for this. Oh, okay. So I guess that works rather than specifying by index number. So the wildcard usually is just like assigned for anything. So I guess by typing keys asterisk or wildcard, it just kind of grabbed all the keys for me, which is pretty convenient. And that's actually the answer. So that's interesting, I guess. Oh, yeah. And the documentation sheet shows that here too, if we just do keys asterisk. So maybe I should have read that a little more. And now we have to actually get the flag. And there's one of the keys is named flag. So we just have to figure out how to actually grab information from that key. So does anybody know how to get that, how to get this specific key in? Or like get the value of it? I'll just be reading the documentation. Let's see. Command. What if I just. Okay, so get flag, and yeah, that is the correct answer. So we could just submit our root flag and just get out, get out of this thing, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like this one too much. But yeah, that's the right answer, RJ. So there's our flag, and hopefully we're done with tier 0 now, so we can actually get started with some of the fun stuff. So I'll just be clicking over on tier 1 right now, and let's see. I'm correct. We could, can you guys tell me if you guys can just spin up the Sql machine over here, or do you have to do appointment first? Because I already have everything unlocked, I think, so it's a bit hard for me to tell. Can you guys just jump into this second machine, or is there like some issues? Oh, okay, yeah. Got you. Okay, so we could just get started with the second machine. All right, so I'll just spin up this second machine. I'll have to turn off my other machine first. That's annoying. So I'm just gonna turn off my machine right now, and we'll be getting started on Sql machine, which, I mean, the name kind of gives it away, what it is. It's Sql, and it's named Sql, so that's funny, I guess. Okay, so I'm just gonna exit out this and just wait for that spins up. So is everyone like, is everyone on the same page? Does anyone have any questions? I know we went by that last one fast, but it was kind of annoying. So I don't think it was too helpful, because the other ones before it were more relevant to what we're doing. But anyways, so let's just get try to get a few of these. Can't get, oh. Okay, so let's see. Are we doing SQL? And let's see. So is everyone ready right now? Okay. Well, I'm going to assume this, let's see. Okay, so if you click the so if you scroll to the top, it says tier 0, 1, and 2. If you click the one in the middle, which is tier 1, then we could you'll see the tier 1 machines instead of the previous ones. Yeah. And from there you could just spin up the SQL machine. So I mean, just to start multitasking, I'll get started on running the Nmap scan. Okay. And I'm just gonna be doing a full port scan, just seeing what ports are open, and I'm gonna try to go through it relatively quickly. And while that scan runs in the background, does anyone know what the acronym SQL stands for? Yeah, structured query language. It's close enough. I don't know why, like what the specific reasons between each word is, but it should be structured query language. And during our scans, we can see that there's 3306 running. And now that I know what port's up, I'm just gonna do I'm gonna do a port scan and then do a little shortcut so I can pull the IP address. And while that scan runs, that's already our answer here. It's just 3306. And now it's gonna ask us what version of MySQL the target is running, which is where this scan is gonna help us out. So if we just give it some time to run, it'll get us some information eventually. Okay. So hopefully this thing finishes up soon. Taking a bit of time. Maybe I should have probably put the min rate on it. I didn't think it was gonna take this long. Oh, I think now my thing is frozen. Okay. Let's see. Did anybody happen to run a service scan already? And can they tell us what the answer is for task number 3? Oh, that's unlucky. Yeah, it's a bit unlucky. This scan's taking a while. Okay, I might just cancel and rerun it. So hopefully this goes by a lot faster. And let's see what switch we need. So while that runs, let's just see if we could get started on the other tasks. So which switch or flag or whatever you guys want to call it, how do you guys know how to specify the login username for MySQL? Because we'll be connecting to it with a client-side tool. Oh yeah, it's just one tac though. It's just tac u. So it's that. And before we get into that, oh, this scan really isn't finished yet. Dang, my box alive. Need to check if my box is alive. Oh, it's alive. It's just really slow, so that's not nice. We're just gonna pretend that my scan is finished. I don't know why it's taking so long. And the answer for task number 3 was just MariaDB. It should have showed up in the scan results when I put this flag, but the scan is just taking a really long time, which is unusual. And now I don't want to spoil the answer, so I'm not gonna type that in. So when we tried to connect to the oh wow, it actually just told us the answer, right? Okay, whatever. When we actually try to connect to the database, it's saying that one user doesn't need a password. And did anyone figure out which user that is? Did anyone like try connecting to the database yet, or? Yeah, it's root. If we actually, so if I run the command like this, wait, wow, I had the exact same IP. I think I could just do it like this. Let me see. What's my, am I hitting the right box? Oh no, yeah, I am hitting the right box. I don't know why it's hanging. I think maybe my box got a bit forked or something. I'm just gonna cancel my Nmap Scan and see. Let's see. Let me just do some troubleshooting real quick. Okay, yeah, it's alive. Oh, okay, it just took 15 years to connect. But yeah, Bryce is right. The root user is able to be logged in without a password because why not? Right, okay, so let's see. Do we happen to know what symbol do we need to use to specify a query to display everything inside a table? What symbol can we use to specify within that we want to display things? Okay, well, before we get to that question, does everyone kind of have an idea of how the SQL? Well, yeah, it is an asterisk, but does everyone have an idea of how the actual database structure of SQL kind of works? I'll just be going a quick review. So you have like your tables, right? And I think from there it's like there's rows and columns, and the actual tables are within databases themselves. So first, if I want to actually see the tables, I have to connect to a database because the database has tables, right? So if I type show databases, I can see there's like 4 databases out here, right? And then from there, I can connect to a database by using the use command, right? So let's just say, I'll use HTTP because why not, right? And you have to end every query. Commands you run in SQL are called like queries, and each query has to end in a semicolon. So now I can see that I went from being connected to no database to the HTTP database, right? To actually see the tables, I believe it's just I do show tables similar to how I did show databases. And I can see that there are 2 tables, right? Now, if I actually want to look at what's inside each table, just like Jonathan and Megan said, you just do select, oh, my thing just disappeared. Just do select, and then you specify where you're selecting everything from, right? So from, in this case, config. Well, I'm gonna just open this video real quick, see what it is. I haven't actually watched any videos on SQL. I kind of just YOLO'd everything, but I believe this would be a good resource to look into. Let's see. Well, I mean, I won't show it here. You guys can watch on your own time, but any resources are good if you guys have any. But yeah, so if I want to show everything, oh, I guess the flag's in there. That's whatever. Okay. But if I want to get everything from a specific table, so there's 2 tables, you do select asterisk, and then that's going to dump everything to the table. So we could see that there's multiple rows over here, and there's 3 column names. The column names are ID, name, and value. There's an actual way to figure out to query the column names, but I usually just do select and then asterisk because That's just very convenient for me. If I actually wanted to select a specific column name, I could do something like select ID from config. And then it's gonna just show like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 IDs. And then if I wanted to go through the names, I could do select name from config. There's like really some simple stuff. And if I want, if your output is like really, sometimes your output's gonna be very large in volume, and then it's kind of like mess up your screen. So a nice little trick I found out is that if you end the query with I think /g, it's gonna kind of output it in a more vertical layout. So then you can see like the first row has ID 1 name value of that. The second row has these values, the third row has those values, so on and so forth. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so we know, thank you, Bryce. But yeah, so we figured out, those are the answers for, so we got answers for task 5, which is just root, task 6, which was just the asterisk, task 7, which was semicolon. Oh wait, that's just everything. Okay, my bad. And we also we accidentally found the root flag because there was a row with the flag value. So we could just submit that there. But yeah, that's a wrap for this one. Just more client-side tools. Let's see. All right, so I think this is the last box where it's just like client-side tools. So now we're actually going to be getting into doing a little more of the spicy stuff. Let's see. So I'll just open up appointment right now. Did everyone get the submit all the tasks for Sql? Just double checking. Does anyone need me to go over any of them? I will take that as a no. So I'm just gonna spin up. Wait. Oh, I'm going by too fast. Sorry about that. Which part do you need me to go back on any of these parts? Oh, okay, sorry. But yeah, so now we're actually gonna be, if I'm correct about this one, we're gonna be tackling an actual web app. And the whole reason why I went through Sql first is because I wanted to show you guys what a Sql database sort of looks like from the client side. So when we're actually attacking a web application that uses one, we could sort of have a better understanding of how to approach that. So, oh my God, I have to stop this one. And I'm going to exit. So we'll just be, wow, it's even asking us like same question-ish. So we'll just be spinning this one up, and I'm gonna be going over this one a little slower since it's gonna be a little more stuff to do on this one. We just gotta kind of wait for this thing to do its thing. And okay. So, okay, so here's our IP address. Like what we did for Sql, let's just, do a really quick full port scan, hopefully catch a port open, and then we'll start just answering the tasks as we go. What does the acronym Sql stand for? Does someone want to copy and paste the answer again because you guys already answered it? Okay. Okay, so I mean, we already figured out because we already did SQL, but yeah, it's structured query language, right? And does anyone actually know what is one of the common SQL vulnerabilities? Yeah, SQL injection, exactly. Does anyone actually know what SQL injection is though? Like aside from just the term itself, does anyone know what it is and like how it sort of works? Bad commands in Yeah, that, I mean, that's basically what it is. You can, oh, okay, well, my Nmap Scan's finished, so that's nice, but let me see, do I have a Sql? Okay. Okay. That accesses the database when you shouldn't, right? Exactly. So if you imagine something's running like select name, like imagine I'm connected to a database and my web app takes in some input, which looks something like, I don't know the exact syntax for this since I don't make a lot of web apps and use a bunch of SQL. Let's just say it looks something like select name from table. Yeah, so like just a very simple just like a very simple query, right? And let's just say this okay, wait, select name from table, or wait, let me actually wait, let me rewrite. Select let's see, I'll just put okay, select name from table where ID like, and then some, I think that's how you write that query. But anyways, imagine some websites running a query that's like selecting something from a table, right? Where another parameter that it's checking is something that you pass in. If you're able to pass in some malicious input in here, you can sort of change the way that this query is going to operate, and you can make it do a lot of you might make it select something else, or you might use this to dump the database. There's a lot of ways to sort of approach this. And there's different types of SQL injection. Some of them are used for authentication bypasses. There's some called union SQL injection, and which uses union statements to sort of grab more data than it should be. And it's a lot, and it's pretty technical. It's sort of like an art form, trying to actually get it to work. So but that's just a little brief introduction into it. Let's see. Let's just get on with the rest of this box and see where we can actually apply this. Does anyone know what PII stands for? And right, right, personally identifiable information. Yep. And by the way, what Jonathan said is like correct. There's when programmers create web apps, they should always sanitize their input to make sure that normal clients accessing the websites can't put in like a fuzzy input that changes the whole way that the that function of the web app operates. So it might you have to sanitize it so it doesn't do any malicious actions. There's a lot of libraries that coding libraries that exist that handle this for you. And like I know in Python, there's a library called like PyAlchemy or something that handles SQL input sanitization for you. So that's just something for the developers here to keep in mind if there's any. What does the OWASP top 10 list name? Okay, so the OWASP top 10 is like this list of top like web application vulnerabilities or something like that. How do they classify SQL injection? Did anyone find that answer while I was just talking? And while that happens, I'm going to do a script scan on the scan that on the port that we found open. It is okay, wait, let me just double check on something real quick. It classifies this as let's see. Yep. If we actually go to the OWASP website, I'm sure we could find it somewhere. OWASP top 10. So if we look at the OWASP top 10, and then it says look for the classification of SQL injection. Hopefully it shows up here somewhere. Well, it shows us the stuff over here, and it fits with AO3 2021 injection. if we actually do some digging into this one, we could find that SQL injection falls within this thing right here. It mentions it right here. So that's how you find that out. And as for the service version and port, we could wait for an Nmap scan, but I already set one running. So the answer is just Apache HTTPD 2.4.38. Does everyone here know what Apache is, by the way? Yeah, it's just like a web server sort of thing. I could so if we access this thing on port 80, so I just copy and paste IP and put :80 for port 80, you can see that we're accessing the actual just a web page, because Apache is a web server that serves web pages, right? So, and I could spin up my own let me see. I have Apache installed. Oh, I wanted to make my own server on Linux. Oh, I already have it. I could just systemctl start Apache 2. Oh, wait, I have something running already on port 80. So if I just do nano etc Apache 2, you guys don't have to do this. I'm just showing this for demonstration. Let's just, if I just set something up on like 40, I restart Apache 2, localhost 4040. I have my little own website running over here, and it's serving files from my var HTML directory. So Apache is literally just a web server, and it just serves little files that are on the host. So that's really it. It's nothing too big. So yeah, service version and port, we already kind of have that from the Nmap scan, like I was saying. It's just Apache. Does anyone know what the standard port is for HTTPS? Because as we can see, 80 over here is for like HTTP. That's why it doesn't show the little secure thing. Yeah, it's 443. Just 443. It's just something that like there. You can if you search, you can also search up default HTTPS port and it'll be there. What is one LUT base? That's a weird way of asking. So what's one? Yeah, brute forcing. So for those of you who don't know, brute forcing is just basically throwing in a bunch of either passwords as specific username, just to try to hope that that actual username fits with that password. So then you kind of just throw a bunch at it and pray it works. There's this isn't too good though, because one, you might get locked out of a website because websites or network protections may block you either by IP or whatever if you send in too many requests. So that's why this is pretty bad. The account might get locked out, or the password might not even be there. So it's not the greatest method. I mean, it can work if they have a weak password, but if they have a really strong password, brute forcing won't do too much. Let's see. I guess there's so many. Why are there so many questions here? Does anyone know what a folder is called in web application terminology? Yeah, it's just a directory. Fun fact with the brute forcing is brute forcing can doesn't just go with logins. So you could do something called brute forcing directories to try to figure out like the structure of a website to see if there's certain more files or endpoints that you can actually hit. I won't be going over that now, but I think in the later boxes we'll be going over that. It also creates a lot of noise because you're sending in a bunch of web requests to figure out what web endpoints are actually valid or not. So there's a lot of tools that do this. The two common ones I work with are called Go Buster and Ferox Buster. But yeah, it's just a directory. And what is a response code for not found it? So do you guys know what response codes are when it comes to like websites and stuff? Okay, just give a little brief overview. They're kind right. Oh yeah, it is 4.4 is not found yet. 4.3, which is the one right under it, means that access is denied. And And this can happen for a variety of reasons, but these codes kind of just kind of tell you like, it's just a response from the server. It's kind of weird. The common ones are 200, which means, okay, you have access to it. I think 302 is a redirect. Let me Google that. 302 redirect. Oh no, 302 is found. 301 is the redirect. 404 is the not found one. You guys might see that a lot. If I actually go to my own local hosted website and I type in something that doesn't exist, I could see that I get a not found. And this is, I mean, it says 404 in like the title, but if I actually analyze this web request, it will show me that I'm getting a 404 not found. Let's see. So, oh wait, okay. I guess we are brute forcing directories this time. So does anyone have an idea of how to, I mean, I was talking about it just a few minutes ago. Does anyone have an idea of how we can brute force directories? Okay, Durbuster is one. I have not worked with that one though, so I don't know the syntax for that. Yeah, I've worked with GoBuster though. So, but I will, instead of GoBuster and Durbuster, I want to pull up one of the more interesting ones, which is on GitHub, but it's also in the package manager for Kali, which is very convenient. There's this one called Ferox Buster. It's called Ferox because it's written in Rust, and I think I don't know, Ferox oxide. So this thing is pretty cool because it tries to find a bunch. It's like the directory brute forces where it kind of you give it a word list of words, right? That's what a word list is, and it tries to see if those endpoints exist on the website, see if those directories or maybe like page names exist. But on top of that, it's recursive. So if it finds a directory, it'll also start directory brute forcing that directory too, which is pretty convenient. I mean, but it does put a lot of strain on the website, but you know, we don't really care about that too much right now. So we're just gonna YOLO it. And let me see, let me go back to the question. So I'll go over Ferox Buster in a bit. Its syntax is basically identical to GoBuster, but this thing's asking, wait, what? This thing's asking for GoBuster, so we'll do GoBuster first. Does anyone have like know what the answer for this one is, or I could just give it to you guys right now if you guys haven't used GoBuster before. It's asking for how we can use GoBuster to look for directories. I mean, if we just run, if we try to get some help information on GoBuster, we could see that it takes in multiple different types of commands that it tries to brute force through. And the dir one is the one that works with directories. So if we just do GoBuster dir, and then if we look at this, we can specify a word list here and a URL. Let's see, if I do command tech help, oops, I can see that for the dir command in particular, by the way, the answer here should be dir. Yeah, tech u and tech w. So tech u, and I'll just copy and paste the URL from here. That would work for me. And then tech w. So you're gonna want to, since this uses a word list, you're gonna want a word list that has a lot of directories in it. Kali already comes with some word lists, which is very convenient. In the user USR, or which is, I think it's pronounced as user, and the share word lists. And then from there, we could specify a word list over here as like, say something like alt tab autocomplete. There's Derb and Durbuster, which are very similar. I'll just use Derb and then big.txt. This is one of the standard ones, especially for Hack the Box. Just has a lot of directory and file names in here. So all we have to do is set up a command like this. I'll send it in the chat. And then we just let it run and pray it works. If we want to speed this up, we can actually add some extra threads to it to make it run faster. By default, it runs with 10 threads, as you can see here. But if you do tech T and you add like higher number, you make it go faster, but you also put more strain on the website. So, just scanning through, doing our thing. Let's see. Yeah, there's that. So we could run this, but I also wanted to show you guys Ferox Buster because I feel like it's just cooler. Ferox Buster's syntax is basically identical to Go Buster for directory brute forcing. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this over, and hopefully it works. And it's just gonna be doing its thing now. Also looks pretty cool. So I mean, there's that. But anyways, back to the actual prompt. What? This is a weird question. So, okay, whatever. But anyways, what we have here on this website is a login page. Does anybody have an idea of what we could do here? Like, what are some standard things we might want to try out on a login page? Yes, we could brute force. That is definitely an option, but okay, yeah, and Sql injection. I don't want to brute force because I already have a directory brute force going over it, and I don't want to like blow up this website. And okay, so brute force and Sql injection. Okay, and brute forcing is a bit. There's a tool. The tool to brute force is a bit syntax heavy, so we're gonna avoid that one right now. But Sql injection, I mean, that one's a lot more relevant since this thing was already talking about Sql injection earlier. Does anybody have an idea of how we can go about using Sql injection here? And like how it might work out? Or like what do we aim to accomplish with this Sql injection, first of all? Right. So yeah, right. There are tools that we can use, or we can manually type in the commands. Yeah, there's also a Sql injection cheat sheet. There's a little website called Payload All the Things. And it does have an entry on Sql injection too, which is pretty cool. But it's a lot of payloads. It also shows you how to use like a tool called Sql Map to do it. But let's try to get it working manually first. So before we try to Sql inject this, why would we want to try to Sql inject this? So, before we try any sort of attack vectors, we want to figure out like what we aim to accomplish with them, right? So why would we want to apply Sql injection here?
Because there's a login page.
Right, exactly. And yeah, exactly. We could bypass a login for a user maybe, right? But we have to figure out like maybe what user exists. So we could either see if this website can somehow provide us with that information, or we can guess what user usually exists on website. So yeah, we can also guess creds, something like admin, but we don't really get too much of a response. Maybe root. There's like no response here. So that's one way too. We could try like the low hanging fruit, which is just guessing some really simple stuff, maybe admin password, but none of that stuff really works, right? So we're leaning towards maybe Sql injection brute force here. And since I'm already running it, oh, it's finished. It didn't find anything though, aside from just some empty directories. But okay, let's go back to the Sql injection though, because that one seems easier to pull off right now. So we could try that out. So when we run Sql injection, we have to bypass a login. We're going to need to specify a specific user we want to bypass the login for. And a user that's usually on a lot of websites is, admin. So I'll try admin, right? But how can I Sql inject from here, right? Like how would the injection work from here? Or what would I have to enter? And while we do this, let's think of something like this, right? Let's try to create a guess of what the login page is actually doing. So it's gonna grab our username and password, right, that we're sending in, and it's gonna probably run them through a SQL query to see if we actually exist in the database, right? So it might do something like select. Let me see. select username where from users where password I think this password equals. Let me see if that's okay. Select. I don't actually know how to write the SQL statement, but it might be something like where's password is like. I think it's like actually, and then user input. So it might be doing something like this, right? Or I should probably be putting this in quotes, right? So it might be doing a thing where it's like checking to see if our username exists in the database, and it's gonna check our password to see if it matches up with that. Right, so yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going for. Admin that, right? So what we're sort of doing is we're getting some existing SQL query and we're gonna put in some input to change the basically hijack the command. So we'll see if this one works. Right. Oh, I have to enter a password too. And that one didn't work. Another thing that might, and SQL injection hardly works on the first try, right? And what Jonathan actually showed you is, well, actually, let's also try to put a semicolon because every query needs to end in a semicolon. So then we'll probably put a semicolon before that. So we could try that and hopefully see if that works. And that doesn't. And Andrew says we want to try out admin with the pound sign. So then I'll also try that too. And yeah, actually that one works. So there's actually a lot of multiple ways you can do SQL injection into this when I was testing with it. But the pound sign or the hashtag, whatever it's called, is another way to comment out a query. So what we're sort of doing is like, I don't actually know how to write out this SQL query, so this is gonna be a bit tough. But it's gonna be, we're sort of getting one of the points in the SQL query where it takes in user input, and we're kind of putting our own value in there because it takes our input, and then we're commenting out the rest of the query so it doesn't operate functionally. So let's see, name like username, and I don't actually know if SQL queries look like this, right? But let's just take a guess that the query looks something like this, and I think this is a functional query. I have no idea if this is, but I'm gonna hope it is, right? So what Andrew's payload, what it would have done, right, is it's selecting a username from the user's table in the database, right? And it's checking where that username is what we're inputting, right? But what Andrew did is he the username has a single quote in it. So it's gonna put single quote here. So it finishes this part. So it's gonna now look like where username is like admin. And now, but now the rest of the query looks kind of weird like this, but he puts a pound sign, which comments out the rest of it. So the rest of this part doesn't actually matter. So now all the query is gonna do is it's gonna check if the username in the users table is like equal to admin basically. And then if it works, then it's just gonna log us in as admin. So that's like a little example of how that works. I'm not super big on web and SQL stuff, so I might have done some stuff a little wrong here, but that's sort of the gist of it. We sort of gotten a we basically guessed a point in the SQL query where our input is going, and we basically hijack the rest of the query. So in this case, we put a single quote after our username, and we put an indication to comment out the rest of the query. So the rest of it's sort of invalidated. So all it's checking is like this part instead, which happens to be valid. Does that make sense? I'm gonna hope that made sense. And it's already been a bit okay. And it's been about an hour, so we'll be taking like a 5-minute break here. So I don't want you guys like waiting too long. So maybe like check back around like 7, 7:10. I'll see who's still alive. Yeah, I'll just be here for a bit, taking a bit of a break. So I'll see you guys then. I'm just gonna be doing my own thing, so don't mind me. And we already have like the rest of the answers for this, so I'm pretty sure you guys are fine. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this box off and yeah, we'll continue back. We'll try to tackle responders since I think that one's pretty fun. When we get back. So
Hey, Dylan.
oh yeah. Oh hello Jenny. I didn't see you.
Yeah, I've been in the background. I wasn't able to be as loud today
Got
because I'm right now gone out of my
Okay.
house. But from what I've been listening and following along to, you're actually doing really good compared to last week. I think your pacing and your tone in your workshops has really improved compared to last week.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better at this.
You're killing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. How's your day going?
It's I mean it's just hot in my room, but it's going fine. So far anyways. Start this one up. I've been working on another little box lab thing. That's about it.
Okay.
Not too much
Are
going
you
on.
worried about the VIP stuff yet? Or should I still hear Jeremiah about that?
So I'm honestly I don't know too much about what's going on with the VIP situation.
Okay, I'm gonna go hit up Jeremiah then for you.
Yeah,
I've been on
please do
vacation
that.
for a week because I'm at my boyfriend's house. So
Got
what that
you.
probably will mean is when I get back, I'll look into that for you so that you can get your resources because I
Right.
want to make sure that I can give you everything I can.
Thank you. That would be
Yeah, of
greatly
course.
appreciated. And I think
But
everyone here would love like if everyone here could also like have if we're able to get people to access VIP and then all the retired boxes, that would be great because some of those ones are really solid.
Are you planning on assigning homework per se?
Oh no, there
Maybe-
is no homework for this. It's just like show up and do whatever for however long
Yeah.
you feel like being here.
Yeah, because I know for your announcements, definitely try to go and tell them what boxes you're going into. I think you did for the first one. I don't know if I saw anything for the second,
All
but
right, yeah,
I
that
think
was
it's
my
really
bad.
helpful because some people like me, what I like to do is I like to go through the boxes first. And then after I go through the boxes, then I attend your session. So I could have a walk through and like go through the basics. Have you ever heard of, like a flipped classroom?
Oh no, I have not.
A flipped classroom is basically where the professor, the teacher, or whatnot, they make you do the reading or you do the homework on the new topic.
Hmm.
And then you go back to lecture to talk about it.
Oh wait, oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I think I remember that's how my teachers in high school used to do things a bit.
Yeah. It's honestly up to you and how you think that everybody will respond. But I can give you more ideas and stuff if you ever want it. But like I said, it's up to you how you want to teach and how people feel about it.
No, I think
Because some
that
people
that's a
would be
better
like,
approach
"Ew,
for
I hate
this.
that." Well, I wouldn't want to make the homework required because then people are going to be like, ew, why do I have to throw in homework?
But just indicating it out for some people would be pretty helpful.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, to be like, hey, if you want to do this specific box, this is the box that we're talking about.
Right.
I think that'd be helpful.
I'll do that for next week's announcement.
Yeah, as long as you're like heavy about, hey, you don't have to do this. This is very low commitment. Just show up.
Gotcha.
I think that'll be helpful.
Yeah, I think that's the better move here.
Yeah, is someone's kid screaming?
I mean, I've been hearing that. I don't know. I thought it might have just been me.
Oh, are you? Is there a
You
kid
got
in your
kids?
background?
No, like I don't know, because sometimes
Or
I
are
hear-
you the kid?
no, sometimes I hear things that aren't there. So like I thought it might have been one of those situations.
Bro, is your house haunted?
No, it's no, I don't know. It's usually I don't know. I won't go into that.
I think your house is haunted.
I mean I've been fine for like 2 years now.
Okay, well, like, you're probably gonna see like a beware, get out, covered in blood on your walls.
Yeah, that would be mildly unsettling.
Yeah, like you probably live in a haunted house.
I mean, like This house was just built like when my parents got it, so I like to think it's not haunted. It's
Oh,
like the first one.
so you're gonna haunt the house.
Maybe. This isn't working. It's already 7:10. Oh, my bad. But oops.
Can you please, wait, Brian, can you mute please? Because we can hear your background.
Dylan can also do it at his house.
Can you please mute Brian?
Dylan, do you know
okay.
how to go to participants? He'll. It should
I
at the
don't-
top. If you go to participants, Dylan, go to the top and then just click the mic button.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing. I didn't.
If you
Yeah,
want, I can babysit it if you want. If you want to be the
I got
co-host.
it. I just did it. I'm not very used to Zoom.
You'll get used to it. It's a skill.
The UI isn't as intuitive as Discord, but anyways.
If you give me co-host perms, I can do it for you too.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that because you weren't here at the start, or I didn't.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't around. I don't care if you give me perms or not.
Okay, I'll just do that then.
Yeah, I trust you.
Okay. Okay.
I'm only here to crash and heckle you.
Right. Right. Okay. Anyways, though, but now that it's 7, well, it's a little. I think we have time to finish this one up. Oh, yeah, teams. I don't know. I don't even want to think about teams. So.
Oh, sorry about that, Dylan. I accidentally muted you.
Oh, yeah.
I pressed mute all and I didn't know it would mute you too.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice until it kind of popped up on my screen.
Yeah.
Anyways, so this one, I think this one's a bit of a fun one. So let's try to do this one, I guess. So as always, with all of our boxes, we'll just do a quick Nmap. Well, I'll just do a normal Nmap scan on this thing. Hopefully it doesn't take that long. Actually, you know what? No, I'm doing a full port scan. Better be safe. Do a full port scan with min rate 2000 because I don't want to wait 15 years, and hopefully that'll be done soon. Then we'll be able to answer this question after that. And well, I guess it spoiled us because it says there's an IP address. I mean a web service, right? So let's just try to access it. Let's see if it's running on HTTP, because HTTP runs on port 80. So we could just put :80, or we could just prefix it with HTTP. And if it's not running on HTTP, this won't work. And this thing's just sort of hanging, right? And actually got redirected to somewhere called unica.htb. So does anyone know what we should do from here? Because I mean, we got somewhere, we got redirected, but we got redirected and we can't really access it. It just says we're unable to connect. Does anyone sort of have an idea of what's happening?
Not me.
Okay, so basically what's going on is that this web server, oh, well, I guess this is convenient. So we can answer this question. It should be 3, or I guess it's 2, even though my Nmap says 3 ports. That's nice, I guess. My Nmap is gaslighting me. Okay, but anyways, so what's actually going on here is that this website has something called like a virtual host. This website sort of has like a domain name associated with the IP address, and when we try to access the website by its IP address, it's redirecting us to the actual virtual host. But we could see that that's not like fully working. Does anyone have a reason why we can't access this virtual host? Is there like a specific thing that we should be doing here? Does anyone have an idea?
Maybe.
Okay. So. All right, yeah. So we're not necessarily being denied. If we were being denied, it would have been more of like a 403, and we will like it would have said that we would have gotten an error page. But this is saying that we're unable to connect, right? And what's actually happening is we're trying to connect to some website, right? It redirected us to a website called unica.htb. And the reason why this doesn't work is unica.htb doesn't really exist, right? If I try to ping unica.htb, it's well, actually, I have an entry in my Etsy host, but basically, this has to do with something called the DNS. You guys have an idea of what DNS is? It's sort of like mapping a name to an IP address, because I guess people don't really want to memorize IP addresses. So the issue here is that this name exists, but it doesn't have an IP address to associate with it. So we're trying to, it's like our computer is trying to hit the name, but it doesn't know on a network level, like where this name belongs. So it's kind of blowing up on itself. The way we can actually fix this is by going to our Etsy hosts file, where we can manually add DNS entries to resolve things, right? So let me see, where is it? I already have it up here, right? The format is, so first let me copy the IP address. All right, so we put in the IP address or the IPv4 address on the left of, the machine, and on the right, we put its domain name, right? So in this case, it's unica.htb, right? So now if I were to do that and exit, right? I use nano, by the way, because Vim is hard and I'm not good with that. So you just type in nano, the file or the path to the file. So in this case, Etsy hosts. And then you just use your arrow keys to move around and use your keys as you would normally. So like delete or backspace and type. And then once you're done with that, you press Control X to exit. And then if it asks you to save, you press Y and then enter. But I didn't modify anything, so it didn't ask me to save. But now that I have the actual host name connected to an IP address, if I refresh this page, now I'm good to go, right? You can see, well, I mean, it's loading, but I'm basically good to go. So, fun little detail. If your DNS server doesn't have the entries of the domain name that you're trying to hit, then you're gonna have to manually manipulate your Etsy hosts file. This file is also on your actual Windows machine too. Let's see. If I go to system 32, well, maybe Windows system 32. That's convenient. If I go to my system 32 and then I go to the, I think it's drivers, then Etsy, right? I actually have a hosts file in here. So this is also a thing on Windows too. I don't know about Mac. I'm not rich enough to afford a Mac. And if I just open this with like Notepad or something. Oh, where is it? What? Wait, it says it's here, but I can't find it. That's weird. That's really weird. Okay, I'll just use Notepad to open up so I can show you guys a little easier. Quickly run that as admin. Okay, my Notepad just doesn't exist on my computer anymore. I apologize for this. I'm a bit confused. Maybe Internet Explorer. Okay, I guess I have Internet Explorer on my computer. But yeah, this is what your Etsy host file looks. So it's very similar to the one on Linux. So it's just IP address on the left and the host name on the right. So anyways, now that we have that figured out, we can also answer this question. When we're trying to access the website by the IP address, we got redirected to unica.htb. There's that. And let's see. Now we could sort of run around on this we could kind of take a look on this website, see, do a little searching around and see what's available to us. And while we do that, a good idea is to always try to be, oh, my camera's a little dark. A good idea of, or at least good practice, is to always be sort of multitasking. So while this thing runs, I'm gonna set up a Ferox Buster scan on it with a few lower threads. So then, like, while I actually search to see, like, manually scrape over this website and see what's going on, I can also be directory and file brute forcing to see what other endpoints are on there. And then I'll just do tag X to specify a file extension. So I can also look to see if there's maybe PHP files, text files, or HTML stuff, or .aspx too, because this thing may have that too. Oh, and what's up, Taylor?
Hi. So how come you're using Ferox Buster?
So I like Ferox.
And-
Oh, my bad.
And what makes it different than other tools like GoBuster or Fuff?
So I just don't like Fuff because it always seems to crash everything I use it on. And even if it's running at the same rate as any other tool. So I'm like superstitious. So I just don't use Fuff. The reason why I prefer Ferox Buster for directory brute forcing is that it's recursive. So if I do something like Durbuster, I think, and GoBuster, if it finds a directory, it stops there, right? It just tells me the directory is there, and it might find other directories on the same level. But with Ferox Buster, it's going to continue onto that directory too after it finds it, and it's going to scan that one too. GoBuster does not have a recursive option, which is kind of the reason why they made Ferox Buster, because the guy was like, "Dang, I hate this. This is annoying." So then he made Ferox Buster. So when it comes to directory brute forcing strictly, I would prefer to use Ferox Buster. GoBuster can search for virtual hosts though, and same with Fuff. So if you're gonna try to find virtual hosts on a website, you might want to use those tools. But for now, I don't want to run too much scans and explode the box. So I'm gonna use Ferox Buster. I don't know if it's the new hype tool, but it's definitely pretty cool. Something with my old Kali though is that it kind of just blew itself up whenever it ran Ferox Buster. So if you have a new Kali machine, you should probably be fine with it. But yeah, so yeah, Ferox Buster is nice. So now I'll just be manually scraping over this website. If I actually look at the hover over each link, I could see it has like a pound sign, which kind of indicates that it's like a static, it's like a little static redirect. So it's just gonna make me jump to a point on the page. So if I hover over works on the bottom left, it says portfolio section. If I hover over about, it says about section. So this is just gonna send me to different points on the actual website. So this isn't too interesting. And another thing I'd like to point out is that within our Nmap scan, we also identified this port 5985 WS-man. Does anybody have an idea of what this indicates, or like what this sort of implies about this machine? Yes, Taylor's right. It implies this is a Windows machine because there is a tool called WinRM, or Windows Remote Management, and it runs on port it has different protocols. One of them is the HTTP protocols, and that one sort of runs on 5985. So because we found this, we can sort of assume this is a Windows box. And the reason why I included ASPX in here is that ASPX is like sort of commonly associated with Windows sites. So when I'm directory and file brute forcing, I also want to check if there's any ASPX files in case this thing may be running like ASPX stuff. ASPX is just like another web framework similar to PHP and JSP and all that fancy stuff. But anyways, going over this stuff, there doesn't seem to be too much that we have going for us here. Right? Like it's just kind of like static stuff. But and we could change our language here. So I mean, that's cool. There's also this little email button. Maybe I could just put in some stuff and see what happens. And it just redirects me to the top of the page. So that's not too cool. Wow, my thing is lagging. But there's this little thing over here. and I can see that there's something interesting with this. So does anyone see anything that particularly interesting about this this little language switch thing? Like my thing's in French now, and aside from it being French, is there anything particularly interesting about this?
Hello, this is the original Jacob. It looks like there's something in the URL.
Right, exactly. Does anyone know what this means? I mean, it says index PHP, but like, what does anyone have an idea of what this question mark is? Yes, it's a parameter. Yeah, it's a GET request. So when you sort of just access a web page by kind of accessing it in your URL and loading it up, that's called a GET request. And one way to pass a parameter or like in a GET request is through the usage of a question mark. The question mark indicates that the next word is going to be a parameter, and then the equal sign is going to be what the parameter equals. So based on what we're seeing, what does this look like it's doing here? Sort of, yeah. So
It looks like it's querying it for a certain HTML page on the site. So hypothetically, I would think you would be able to access some of the different HTML pages with that same GET request. Because
Right.
it's page, it's not just language. It's the
Right,
entire
exactly.
page. So
That's exactly what I wanted to go towards, David. Yeah. So Jonathan, you're sort of right. It is looking for a page called French, but David hit the nail. He said that it's looking for the web a specific web page a web file that it has access to called French.html, right? So maybe if I put maybe a page that doesn't exist, let's just try playing around with this asdf.txt, right? Now I get an error page, and this is really juicy because error pages tend to give you some really interesting information. So based on this and this little .php up here, we can sort of conclude that this thing's running a PHP backend. So it wasn't ASPX, but it was PHP. Now we're on to something pretty big here. So, and it's calling the include method because that's what it errored out. It says failed to open txt, and it's erroring out at the include method, and it's trying to include this file path. Does anyone know what this means? Actually, I don't know if everyone knows what this means, so we could just Google it, right? It's calling the include method on PHP. So if we actually Google this thing up, right, we could see this thing, this include function sort of includes and evaluates a file. This is a bit wordy, right? So it says that it includes a file based on a file path, right? And you could see the include path here. It's from the root directory, and it's Windows, so it uses backslashes, right? So it's from the root Windows, it goes to XAMPP PHP pair, and then it looks for asdf.txt, or basically what I entered up here, right? So that's exactly what David was saying earlier, was that it's looking for a specific file that has access to, right? So in this case, it's looking for asdf.txt within the pair directory. Now, if we actually look into include, let's see, require, right? So it's looking for this file path. Okay, got it. So now we know it's trying to read a specific file, right? That we are passing through the page parameter. What can we get out of this? Do you guys have any idea?
well, you could access any files that are within that directory. So you could potentially, I don't know.
See, you're on the right track, but think of this way, right? You can go up a directory by doing ... right? Like if I wanted to switch directories, let me open up my command prompt since this is Windows, right? I'm in the users Dylan directory, right? If I wanted to go up one, I could just do ... right? So what if I included the ... up here, right? Now I can try to access files instead of within pair. Now it's in PHP, right? Or now it's within XAMPP, right? So as a sample thing, right? let's try to go all the way to the top. So I'll just spam this a bunch. If I'm already at the top, it'll just leave me at the top. And let's try to see if we could grab the etc hosts file, right? So Windows, system32, drivers, right? So this is the file I was trying to show you guys earlier and see what happens, right? We can read the etc hosts file. It's pretty neat, right? So we can read files on the system. And this would be particularly interesting, right? If we knew what other web pages were on there, but there's not like a lot of, we don't have too much to go on from here, right? Because all we have, okay, I know it's 7:30 and I said we are gonna end at 7:30, but we're really close to finishing this thing up, right? So let's try to just grind this one out. We'll be finishing soon, I promise. So we can access stuff on the file system, right? But do you guys think there's anything else we could do here aside from accessing just like the files on the file system?
Well, I mean, I almost wonder if you could insert some kind of command because you're already in a different command. So you could maybe like do something by proxy. I'm not sure.
So that is good thinking, but we have to remember that this thing is calling the include function, right? So if this argument is being passed into the include function, so it's being the PHP code is saying include this file. So all the way up to the root directory and etc hosts, right? The include function can't really, based on the documentation, you can't really execute commands from it, right? But maybe this is a vulnerability called LFI, right? But maybe we could try something else here. And what if instead of just accessing local files, we could access remote files, right? So I think I'll explain what I'm doing right here, right? So I'm gonna set up a HTTP server on my Kali host on port 443, right? So rather than accessing a file in the file system, what if I tell it to include a URL, right? So my IP address up here on the VPN is apparently 10.10.16.10. My port is 443, right? And I can see nothing got hit and I got errored because this thing apparently does not allow URLs. That is what we call tragic, right? So what we could have potentially done here, right, is we could have served a web page that was running PHP and had this thing remotely access it and execute that PHP, because when a PHP page is loaded, it automatically sort of executes, right? No, when the page is loaded, it gets executed on the server side, right? So if I made a malicious PHP page and I was able to put a URL here that access that PHP page, whatever malicious code I had on my page that I was hosting would have been executed on the actual web server itself, which could be very dangerous, right? So like if I wrote commands inside a PHP page, that they would end up getting executed on the actual Windows machine. So but as we can see, that didn't work here. But that's one idea we could have thought of if this security measure was in place. Does anyone have any other idea that we could integrate in here? So let's remember that this is yeah, exactly. I was hinting towards a reverse shell. You're right, Gerardo. That it would have been really nice if we could have used this to do a reverse shell, right? But unfortunately, we could not. So what other options do we have here, right? A HTTP link didn't work. Expect PHP expect. I've not worked with expect, but that is something we can try. I would have to Google how to do that because that's never worked for me before. PHP expect LFI. RFI. So we could try to do a PHP expect payload. That is something we could try here. I have not too much experience on this, so page equals, so we'll see if we could do this. It looks like it's just executing commands through the expect parameter. So let me close all these pages. There's a lot of pages. So what if I just do something like page equals expect who am I? And well, wait, page. I don't think I did that. Page equal expect colon slash star. Okay, I don't think that worked. So does anyone have any other idea that we could try here? So we know we have LFI, but we want to see if we have anything else. And let's also remember, this is a Windows machine that we're dealing with here. That's a little hint for this. All right, yeah, Alex, that's right. So because this is Windows, well, actually, I don't know if it's explicitly because it's Windows, but generally Windows has this thing. So last week we were, oh wait, can we check? We already checked for the open ports. It's, well, let me scroll up. It's these ones, right? WinRM and 80, right? So, and WinRM is what indicated to us that this is like very likely to be a Windows host. And Windows, as we all know, loves SMB. SMB, based on what we were doing last week, is sort of like a built-in thing to Windows at this point, right? So, but anyways, I was just doing that real quick. Don't worry about it. On top of, okay, so when I put a URL in here, the thing I was trying to do is called RFI or remote file inclusion, because I'm trying to load a remote file, right? But files are served in other ways than just HTTP or websites, right? You can serve a file through SMB. Remember what we were going over last week, right? When we went over dancing, right? Dancing was covering SMB shares. SMB is like a thing really built into Windows, and SMB is a file share mechanism. So one thing with SMB is you can actually specify SMB paths in the URL, right? So if I try to Google specify SMB path in the URL, or at least let's try to make this search more more catered towards our situation, which would be SMB RFI, because we're trying to accomplish RFI through SMB, right? So if I just clicked on this article, I don't know, right? So let's see what this guy does, right? This guy looks like he has a similar situation to us where there's a get parameter that's being passed on to a page being loaded through an inclusion, which is basically what we have going on, right? So what this guy is doing is he's including what's called a UNC path, right? UNC stands for Universal Naming Convention, right? This is how our SMB paths sort of look, right? If I go on my command prompt, I can, one of the default shares I have is on my local host, and it's called the C share, right? This is an example of an SMB path, right? So what if we try to apply the same thing here, right? What if we try to load a file through SMB? So let's try to do that real quick, right? So I'm gonna create a SMB file called bad.php. I'm just gonna write a quick PHP payload. I'm gonna do system echo bruh. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. And one tool that can help us out with this, with setting up an SMB server, is called Impacket, right? It's built into Kali now, so that's pretty cool. All you have to do is type in something like this, and we have a SMB server being set up. We just kind of gotta wait a while because this thing's slow as hell. I'm gonna stop my directory brute force now because I don't think we're gonna need it. So now we can see our SMB server is up and running. And now all I have to do is try to specify the UNC of our SMB share, right? So 10.10.16.10, because that's our IP address. The name of the share is share. So I'm gonna type in share. And the file that we're hosting is bad.php. So I'm gonna type in bad.php. And I'm gonna hope this does something. Right, and it's saying it's time to load, which is promising. because it didn't 404 us immediately. And we could see it did echo bruh. So we have a level of command execution on this thing. But more interestingly, there's a hash. So we actually have two things we can do here. We can create a web shell through and load it on our SMB share, or we can crack this hash, which is for the administrator use. Does anyone have an idea of what type, how we would crack this hash though? Or any idea like why this hash was passed? I'll be honest, I kind of forgot why Windows does this, but Windows loves throwing hashes around. So
So-
whenever you're dealing with the Windows machine, what?
I was gonna take a guess at this.
Oh yeah, sure.
Right. So when this is similar to when you go into like File Explorer and there's like the little switch thing where it shows the path, you can
Right.
like access different shares through
Right,
that.
you
Yeah,
can.
whatever that
I could
is.
I could definitely do localhost C up here. And now I'm on my own locally hosted SMB share.
Right. So when you do something like that, it sends over the credits of your current account.
Yes, so it sort of passes your Windows authentication through. I can actually demonstrate this too, because I have an SMB share here, right? What if I try to access it from my host machine, right? So if I check my host IP address, in this case, it's gonna be ETH0, right? Watch this, right? This is pretty funky. So here's the administrator hash, right? What if I try to do something like share? Now here's my hash. Yeah, this is my password hash. I don't think you guys are gonna crack this one though, because it's in a different language. I don't know if that helps. It's probably not on a word list. I'd hope not. But yeah, so this is called a net NTLM v2 hash. I don't know this because we're using SMB2 on our SMB server. That's why it's passing this hash. It's a more secure hash than previous versions of Windows, but it's still crackable. But not completely reversible though. But yes, so it's pretty cool. And apparently this website just loaded the thing again, so I have hash again. Does anybody have an idea, like, what do you guys want to do from here? Do we want to try to leverage this PHP inclusion? Or do we want to try to crack this hash? What do we want to go about doing?
Let's crack it.
All right, let's crack it. All right, that's the fun choice. So does anyone have an idea how we might crack it? I'll just write it to a file. Let's see, responder hash. Is it salty? I mean, it might have a side. I don't actually know the structure of net until MB2. I just recognize it because it's long and it has a username and a host name in it. But one thing we can do is use a tool called hashcat. And all we have to do is specify an attack vector of 0 or a directory attack on this hash, specify the hash, specify a word list to use. And then all we have to do from now is pray it works. And now it's crying at us because it doesn't know which one to use because the hashes fit two different formats. I don't actually know what the difference between these two are, but it's using a net until MB2. So now we just specify tag M for the mode and we just run it again. I'll just copy and paste the command. And wow, it cracked instantly. You love to see it. These hashes do not, net until MB2 do not take a very long time to crack. And the password we can see up here, it's badminton. So quite insecure password. So now all we got to do is figure out where can we use this password, right? Because remember, there's only port 80 and 5985. So how can we log in with this? It's not like we have direct access to the computer, right? What way can we potentially use this password to log in? Because now we have the administrator password. Okay, well.
Couldn't you, oh wait, never mind.
The get parameter, well, okay, so. What, let me think. I don't really think there's a way for that. But let's think about what service we're dealing, right? Because remember, I said that this thing's running something called WinRM. WinRM stands for like Windows Remote Management or something. Remote management, remote access, right? This thing is intended for system administrators to remotely access and configure multiple systems at a time. So they don't actually have to be like on every single computer. So we can actually try to leverage this to log in. And there's a tool that does this. It's very nice. Normally we would have to use PowerShell, but you know, PowerShell isn't too much, I mean, isn't really a thing on, I mean, we technically have PowerShell on Kali, but it's kind of weird. It's built in. But let's use what's easier. And it's a tool called Evil WinRM because it leverages this. So if I specify the IP of the target, which I forgot, so I'm the username, which is administrator, and the password as badminton. Let me just grab the IP address again. All right, so all we gotta do is pull this guy up and just run that. And now it's gonna try to authenticate to WinRM using our credentials. And WinRM runs on port 5985. You can see we logged in. And I can run in whatever commands I'm on through the WinRM protocol now. And yeah, that's now we can just find the flag. I'll let you guys do that though, but let's try to let's see. Wait, I will send this into, but let's try to figure out the actually. I think I'm keeping you guys too long because I said we're gonna end like 17 minutes ago. So if you guys want to leave, you can, but I'll still be here. Sorry about holding you guys extra, but yeah, that's remote file inclusion. If you guys plan on staying though, I'm gonna cover the alternative route we could take for this. Oh, no one's leaving. That's weird. Okay, I thought someone was gonna leave. I guess not. Okay. Anyways, so ooh, that's not. Let's modify this bad.php file, right? Because let's kind of upgrade ourselves a bit. So rather than just running system on one command, we could take in a get parameter. Actually, I'm curious if this is even going to work. Yeah. So I'll explain this in a bit if this works. I hope it works. It'd be really funny. Actually, I don't think this is gonna work. Because we're not sending a get request to this page. Wow, it worked. Okay, that's crazy. All right, I'll explain this. So this is a system command, right? In PHP, system is gonna run a command on the actual host of the server of the file server or of the website. And this is a little keyword in PHP that says get, because this is telling it that it wants a get parameter. The parameter it's looking for is called CMD, right? So what I did here is I tossed in an additional get parameter called CMD, and it's the parameter value is who am I. So now when I access the web page, it's also getting this get parameter, who am I, and it's now tossing it into system, and now it's running system who am I, and that returns responder / administrator, which means I'm administrator of the responder machine. So that's pretty cool. It's not fully a reverse shell, but this is something called a web shell. Because if I run something, I can now run commands. Like if I run dir, I mean, it's going to take a bit because it's loading through SMB, but it's going to return to me in the very, very ugly format. But now I have like some level of command execution through this thing through RFI. And this is what I was talking about, serving malicious PHP files. While my host is serving this malicious PHP file, it's being rendered and executed on the actual server, it's the web server itself, which is why RFI is very dangerous for a lot of languages that operate on the server side of things like PHP. Because if you're able to load a malicious web page that's hosted remotely, you can remotely execute code on the actual host. So we can see like this is a pretty big issue. It'd be easier if we could do this through a HTTP website URL, but we saw that the include function blocked that. But we're still able to do this through a UNC or basically a SMB share because Windows, and also this, it wasn't blocked. Does anyone have an idea of how we could potentially upgrade ourselves from here? Like what, how can we get a reverse shell as, what was it? I believe somebody brought up a reverse shell earlier. I'm scrolling in the chat. Yeah, Gerardo, right. Does anyone have an idea of how we could potentially get a reverse shell from here? Well, there's a lot of ways to get reverse shells, right? But I'm gonna do a very standard and basic way, which is just creating a malicious exe file. So I need to figure out where my SMB server is being hosted. So it's being hosted in the cybernetics directory. So I do ms venom. Well, first I need to know what type of host architecture I'm working with. So I'm gonna do system info. And sometimes this command is restricted on Windows hosts to privileged individuals, but other times you can kind of just use it. And wow, this is ugly. Let's see. So we're working with Windows 10. Oh wow, if I inspect elements, it's a lot neater. Okay, so we're working with Windows 10 and we're on a 64-bit PC. So we could probably create a 64-bit payload, right? So I'm just gonna run this command. This is gonna make a malicious Windows wait, not C#, exe. Right, this is gonna make a malicious Windows executable that generates a reverse shell onto wherever ton 0 is. In this case, that's my VPN interface, and it's gonna try to connect back on port 4444. I'll send this to you guys real quick. Right, MSF Venom is like a tool, a part of the Metasploit framework that creates malicious, basically, it creates shellcode and executables that can give you a reverse shell. So now I have a file called shell.exe, right? So now, and let's try something out too. So first we need to set up our listener on the same port, right? So I set the port to be 4444. So I'm gonna set up my listener to be running on 4444 so it can catch a callback. And I'll be using netcat for that. I also use this tool called rlwrap, so I can, it makes things a little easier. It's up to you whether you want to use it or not. You could just type in nc tech nvop 4444, right? And now I'm gonna try to make this command execute my SMB share. So it's weird. Windows is weird. So you can execute things through SMB shares. So if I do something like local, so if I do on my host machine, right, dir localhost C share, right, I can see everything at like my root directory, right? But if I do this and let's go to Windows from here, Windows is right here. Within Windows is system32, and within system32 is notepad.exe, right? Now Notepad is open on my computer. Well, I mean, you can't see it because my Notepad's weird. I don't know why it's just hiding, but I actually don't know where it is. I'll try something else easier, like cmd.exe. Oh, that just spawned a new cmd.exe from this, so that's not helpful. I'll do PowerShell then. Actually, that's not where PowerShell is located. You get my point. you can execute files through an SMB share, right? So if I put an SMB share as my command, and the file on the SMB share is going to be my malicious exe, so shell.exe. We just wait and pray now. Well, actually, I probably shouldn't have done that on the view source page, but we can hope this works. It might take a bit of time. I'll be doing that over here instead, actually. And we have a shell. So like Gerardo was saying, it is also possible to get a reverse shell through here. I feel like I actually went a bit far. Does anybody have any questions? Do you guys need me to review anything? Did I get to like in depth or anything?
Yo,
Yeah.
where do I find these recordings for these meetings?
They're in the fast Discord in the recordings text channel.
Okay.
But if you guys ever want to like DM me with a question about this, like I'm always awake. And if I'm not awake, then I will be awake eventually. So just feel free to reach out or anything. But does everyone understand like the sequence of actions we sort of took here? I will take that as a yes and no at the same time. But yeah, so right, okay. I'll just quickly review each step. We figured out that this, oh, not this website. Nika.hd. We went to a website and we found out that to switch its languages, it does a local file inclusion of web pages within its directory. But we figured out that we can include remote files through an SMB share because this is Windows. Because PHP pages are actually rendered, when they are rendered on the web page, they're executed on the server side of things. So what we were able to do is we created our malicious PHP file that would execute the contents of the CMD get parameter on the actual system host. So from there, we were able to create an SMB share using Impacket. This SMB share hosted the PHP file, and the PHP file executed code on the server side of things. So just a little throwback. So I do this, right? I specify a command of who am I, and I load the bad.php page from an SMB share. The CMD parameter gets tossed into bad.php since bad.php is looking for a get parameter. And now that has its get parameter, it executes it on the web server machine itself, which is the responder machine. Then from here, I generate a malicious executable that gives me a reverse shell when executed through MSF Venom, if I can find that. Yeah, so I create through MSF Venom, I create an executable that launches a reverse shell when loaded. And I go back to my command execution with my bad.php, and I make the command the file path or the UNC path to the executable. So now it loads my executable through the SMB share to give me a reverse shell. That's all. I mean, yeah, that's not really much of a little one. That's a pretty lengthy rundown, but that's another way we could be doing this. I know that we could have just captured the hash, cracked it and called it a day, but it's also important to know that any file inclusion on PHP is a very dangerous vulnerability because now attackers can execute code on the actual web server through their own malicious PHP files. Yeah, that's that. There's another tool. If you guys are still interested, there's another tool we could use. Instead of Impact SMB server, there's a tool called Responder. Oh, goodbye, Taylor. Responder is very similar to Impact SMB server because it can also host its own SMB things, but It also does a lot of other complicated things like poisoning certain requests that Windows computers do. But we won't be covering that because that's complicated. See you, David. But yeah, that's kind of all I have planned today. I know we did go well over time that I expected. And next meeting we will be covering well, we'll be reviewing this machine since not everyone was able to get to this point, and we'll be taking on Crocodile, and hopefully we'll be able to make it to tier 2. Tier 2 will take a lot of effort to grind through though. So there's that. Yeah, I don't actually know why it's called Crocodile though, but it's a thing. I should probably end the recording here, actually. I probably should have done that a while ago. Thank you. I mean, I'll be here for a little longer. And let me just end the recording here. Wait, no, that's screen share. How do I stop recording? Is it even recording? Should be, right? Okay, yeah.